There's also a really cool feature that I like as well, smart segments. This is really, really underappreciated within Nansen, and it's currently only supported for Ethereum again, but we are looking to expand our product offering across different chains because that's part of the wider focus that we've got at the moment to make Nansen significantly stronger across these different chains. And we do have Solana support coming very soon. Is this feature called Smart Segments. Smart Segments allows you to group wallets based on criteria that you find interesting. And we did an episode of sales on this a few weeks back. And so the way you do it is you create a segment based on criteria that you find interesting. What I personally do for this, if we were looking at meme coins, is that you would look at some specific meme coins on Ethereum. If you have any names of meme coins that you're interested in right now, just chuck them in the chat and I can just look into that. And then from there, I would go to their profiler. And so by going to the profile, it aggregates all the addresses that we found together, batches them together so we can see what they're doing. And then on this, what we would do is, although it's only supports Ethereum, we were trying to go through addresses here, transactions here, see some of the relevant addresses, what they buy and what they're selling. And then we'd look at those addresses on Base to see if they are trading meme coins on Base, how active are they? And that's kind of how I've taken, it's like a little workaround for the time being where I don't have support on Base to find addresses that are killing it on certain narratives, for example, and I can use that information for like to benefit me or to create content or to just keep updated on what's going on here. Again, Nansen's a really cool tool to find all these things. We don't tell you what to do. We don't tell you when to buy. We don't tell you to sell. But we do present you with the data. Boo-Poo, Intern was first Intern. They recently moved companies, actually. They moved to Binance, then they moved to another company. I can't remember off the top of my head. Very good friend, actually. They referred me to Nansen. And yeah, fun fact. So in this one, we've got here AI meme coin trained. I did something in Discord. So if you ever have any questions in Discord, if you have any questions about how to use Nansen, if you're unfamiliar with something, you want us to look into something, just literally go to our Discord or send us a message on Twitter and we'll just look into it. I looked I looked into something literally yesterday to highlight this a signal to do with Starknet. So originally it looked quite bearish, but it was actually quite interesting because Pantera Capital were moving their funds to different addresses. So then I could then set up smart alerts to monitor that to see if they were to sell or if they were to move those funds any further. And I could use that information to my advantage potentially. That's how you would use that. So let's just go through that smart segment flow actually while I've talked about it. So if I look at tokens, so it holds tokens, let's just look at the generic meme coins here, Pepe, and we set 5,000 here. Is there any other meme coins that people are interested in? If so, just chuck them in. There's got to be Ethereum anyways, because this feature only supports Ethereum. Let me have a look actually on the homepage, see if there's anything interesting here. So Pepe's at the top here. Yeah, this token's done quite well actually recently. So we'll add this one as well, add conditions, holds tokens. We set $5,000 here. So yeah, so Matthias, if you missed, I'm just going to show you a cool workflow with how you can find addresses on Ethereum and then find them, track them on Base. So we're using a feature called Smart Segments that allows you to group wallets based on specific criteria. We're looking at specifically Ethereum meme coins. And then what we do from there is then filter these addresses down very quickly. And then we see what they're doing on Base. And hopefully we can find some addresses that may be quite early to a trend. So I've set a very basic segment here. Holds tokens, Pepe holds the token Apu. I chose these two tokens because they're both in the smart money inflow at the moment. And they are both up at the moment and they're quite well-known meme coins. So then what I do here is then just save the custom segment and it loads all the data up. And this will show me all the addresses that meet this criteria. So what we see is 61 addresses matching this criteria. And interestingly, one of the wallets that I track is here, which is interesting. But you can also see some emojis here. And I'm not interested in those because these are exchanges or MEV. So I'm going to add a condition here. I'm going to say exclude the labels, contract, exchange, MEV, and save that here. And then while we wait for that to load, we might find some interesting addresses that are trading on Ethereum as well as Base. So this is kind of like a cool, hacky way to just find some cool addresses. So in here, we have 57 wallets. and we save the custom segment. I'm just going to say test office hours to find some meme coins. And then what we do is go to this section here that's profiler, and this will show all the token holdings from these addresses. Waiting for this to load. So as you can see here, we can see all their portfolios and what they're holding and stuff like that, which is interesting. We can see wallets in this segment. So there is this address here, Pepe Whale, that I find very, very useful. I track that personally to see what's going on here. I'm just going to go through some of these tokens here, some of the labels here. So let's just find anything with like a ENS maybe. This would normally take a bit longer. So we go through some of these addresses to find anything interesting. And what we're doing here is trying to find addresses that have been valuable or making money on Ethereum, and seeing if they're taking action on Base. So I've just clicked onto this one address here. Their portfolio has been quite productive. We label the addresses. We have over 300 million labels. We support many different blockchains. And yeah, it's pretty cool actually. Some of the labels that we actually have an article. If you just search Nansen labels on Google or something, you should be able to see the type of labels that we have, and you can use those labels for many different reasons. Some labels that I really like are the top like Telegram bot users, so Maestro or Banana Gun, or Unibot, especially when you look at the meme coins, because if they're the top users for these, they may have related wallets that are performing very well, but they send funds to hold over a longer period of time. Or you can find these addresses that are maybe in the trenches making a lot of money, so very ruthless. And then if you're using Ethereum, for example, you can just then like set smart alerts for those addresses, see what they're doing, and then like when they make a move, you can research tokens that they're buying and selling and stuff. So this address we found through the segment, and we want to find them on Base. Are they doing anything on Base? In this case, they are not doing too much on Base. They look like they were in early. They were buying a token, but they're not doing too much here. So transactions, let's have a look here. They aren't doing too much on this front. So this address isn't that actionable. So we move on to the next wallet, which is this Pepe Whale. You might find this address useful, really interesting. The yellow is the Pepe. They have absolutely been killing it since literally February. Just up only, massively. It's incredible to see, which is why I've labeled them personally. You can see they own a bunch of different meme coins. They've made a fortune on Apu, which is a bit of an inverse, bro, because like I say, I personally track this wallet. I saw them ape into this, I think, a while back. And yeah, they bought in early in March. I did nothing about it. And yeah, they've just made a killing out of it. So there's that. So if we go to wallet profile for token, we can see their activity here. And they're up, what, over 1,000%. And we can see they've been transferring some of these funds into this address, which is interesting. On Base, let's see what they're doing. Nothing on Base. So there's nothing there. Let's look on this address here. Anything on Base? Interesting. So we talked about Nomilio earlier. We've just found an address that is highly profitable on Ethereum. And we know they're highly profitable because in July, their portfolio was just around 100,000. They're now at 800,000. So they're up significantly. They hold interesting tokens like Pendle, Mog, Pepe, Bobo, another meme coin. So some meme coins here, Mog. And if we just have a quick look to see how well they performed, we go to wallet profile for token. Yeah, so if we go up, they're up. Their cost basis, I don't know if you can see that, is up over 1,000% on unrealized gains at the moment. So that's very cool. And we'll do the same for some other tokens. Let's look at Mog. 1,000%, over 1,700, sorry. Pepe, 354%. Bobo, they're down 18%. They don't always win. And Apu, they're up 400%. So this address we found through smart segments. Now we also know what the purpose of doing those smart segments was to find them on Base. And we see that they have been trading on Base We see they hold Milio. We go to wallet profile of the token. That's their biggest holding. And again, they were very early into this token. They sold some, and this is an address that you might personally want to watch. So I would say, hey, if you're interested in this, we can say that they're a Memecoin trader. So Memecoin trader is the label. Add that here, and then we might also say they also trade on Base. So they've been successful on more than one chain, but we're also specifically looking at their activity on Base. Add to watch list, and then if you want to track their activity on Ethereum, you can set up a smart alert. But yeah, this is quite interesting to see because they recently bought just before the buy price here. So they are pretty active, and we did this all through creating a segment. So you can find hacky ways around supporting some features that aren't necessarily supported on Base, but then play around with them slightly so that it can make them work for you on Base. So I find that to be pretty cool. Again, we see this address here that's killing it by the looks of things. In May last year, over 120,000. Their portfolio is now 1.5 million. We found this address through the smart segment. We've got an episode and office hours on that as well that you can look into it. And so let's just see how well they performed on this. On the token APU, they are up, if you can't see that, nearly 1,300%, which is crazy when you think about it. Bitcoin, they are up 69%. Ironic, Morg, they're up 219%. Bobo, let's have a look here, up 53%. So this address has a proven record of being a successful meme coin trader, or at least buying meme coins. It's all about the exit after all. And if we want to look at see what they're doing on the base, let's have a look at, oh, that's interesting. So their portfolio is also very significant on base. I'm kind of curious actually while we're here. They're doing anything on Arbitrum. They don't hold any meme coins on Arbitrum just yet. Just paste the address. I will paste the address. There we go. So what we've done here is we started off with a feature called Smart Segments. We grouped wallets based on specific criteria. We said they needed to hold more than $5,000 worth of the token APU and $5,000 worth of the token Pepe. We set that criteria to say we want addresses that hold us a relatively high net worth and understand the meme coin space. We found those two tokens on the Smart Money token inflow page, which is on the home page. So that kind of tells us that Smart Money has been potentially buying these tokens, and these are specifically meme coins. And as this episode of Office Hours is looking at base meme coins, we wanted to find some meme coin traders that may be going under the radar right now. So from setting that criteria, we then went to that segment profiler. That segment profiler allowed us to see all the addresses that met that criteria, 57, I think it was. And then from there, just for the purpose of this episode, we are going through just a few of the addresses that have an ENS name. We go through addresses that have an ENS name because they're more likely to be real addresses or people that are maybe active because they care enough to have an ENS. And then from there, we look at their activity on Ethereum. And then based on their activity on Ethereum, we decide whether or not to look into their activity on Base. And on doing that, we find this address here that's really interesting. We have this really powerful label here that says, that shows first funded on Frontech. We can see that they funded Chain Nick 00000, which is interesting. And we can search on Twitter whether or not who they are and stuff like that to see if they're interesting. We can do that later on. But that's something that you can do to decide if this address is something that's worth monitoring to see if they're valuable. And that's quite cool. And so what we see here is that they've been buying KeyCat. They've got the token Toshi as well. And they've got some other meme coins here. They've got Roach, for example. That's interesting. So let's just go to wallet profile for token here. And yeah, they bought in early. They literally bought in super early, 16 days ago to KeyCat. And their holdings must be worth a fortune. So yeah. And if we go here to the time, this opens up Etherscan or Basescan to show how much they purchased. So they spent 0.5 ETH to acquire this, which is nuts when you think about it. So as this is live, I don't really know what's going on. They've spent $1,600, and currently their token holdings for KeyCat are over 278,000, which is really, really cool because they have been provenly successful on Ethereum. They are now killing it on Base by the looks of things. You might want to set a label to this address, see what they're doing. They've been selling off gradually. Whilst it looks like they're down relative on the buy, it doesn't really matter because they are making a load of money if we look at the realized gains. We are looking to improve support, by the way, for wallet profile for token and other features. Is pretty impressive. Yeah, interesting. That's definitely interesting to see. That's not bad at all. It's quite nice. So as I was highlighting earlier about the workflows and stuff like that, this is one of those things that I do to just find those interesting addresses. I think, Elliot, you were talking to me about what do I like. That's why I like smart segments. And I really appreciate that you asked that question earlier because we found this address. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to manage labels and I'm going to add like a label here, Memecoin trader, so I can stay updated with them. Add the address to my watch list, very important. So then you can always refer back to it. If we go to the other token, let's just have a look at Toshi to see if they were doing well on that front. I suspect they were. Let's go to all time. They were in super early. Super early. That's really what? So let's go back to all, because it's on 6 months, because it's actually longer than 6 months. Toshi base, they disperse the tokens over to them. Interesting. Yeah, this is an interesting address. Very interesting. That's really not bad. So yeah, that's just the workflow, and we go to some of the other addresses while we're here. Actually, I've realized I've gone way above time. Thank you, Grandma, not you. Well, okay. Thank you, Grandma. We'll go through the other addresses here. I think we'll have to wrap the episode off after that. I have a busy afternoon. But I quite like looking at what's going on in the chain, answering your questions, diving into some of the details, and finding interesting stuff to see what's going on chain. This address, we looked at the two tokens, Apu Pepe. Let's see how profitable they are. Pepe, 22%. We want higher. Apu, 314%, 318%. Interesting, super interesting. We can definitely look at different coins. So Jason, I see your comment, GMC. We can do that for another episode of Office Hours, maybe next week. That'd be quite cool. And if it's something that you guys want me to do, that'd be cool. Let's go to base. Are they killing it on base? So Brett is a token they bought. Let's go here. Got in relatively early. Let's have a look at this purchase here. So they actually spent very little on that. So yeah, this is an address that's been doing some activity on base and Ethereum. And then if we go to the final address on this tab here that I've gone through, we can see again doing quite well on the performance side of things. So while they're a bit smaller, we're looking at just under 50K. They're now currently worth 195K, not too bad. Pepe, their performance has been interesting. If you can see that, it's 1,300%. Not bad. Bupu, you are definitely right. We could all be very, very, very wealthy people if we invested in the right coins. If only it was that simple. It's interesting. As you see so many cool things on Nansen, especially when you spend a time and effort into diving into this. That's not. So again, this is quite crazy. This address 1 year ago bought $24.5 billion worth of Pepe for about 4K. They sold half of their position for 3K. They bought some more back, sold some, but their original holdings, if they just bought their Pepe and just held on to their Pepe, would be worth 176,000 now. The entire portfolio is worth 195,000 today. So it kind of tells you like the value of like being able to make the right moves, entries and exits and stuff like that here. And the more you track wallets and see the behavior, that can kind of help you out here. But they sold. We just filtered by time here. Let's see how quickly their gains were actually, just out of interest. Time, wrong thing. I was meant to click on here. So they bought on the 11th. Wait, 11th? No, that's not right. 10th, 10th, 11th. They were buying. Yeah, 10th, 11th. They were buying, and shortly after they were selling. Interesting. So yeah, they were buying. They were selling. Could have made a lot more money out of it. That's an interesting address. Short-term memory. I think you'll need short-term memory to not deal with the pain of of that. But they do still hold some Pepe, and they are still hubs. So in the end, they've done quite well. And if we look at the token app as well, which is that they're new into, they're up 355%. And again, we see similar behavior where they bought in very early, they sold when it was quite high, and they bought some more, and they bought some more again. I think their long-term memory is in pain because, wow, they made some purchases, 5K in total. Their buys are up nearly 7,000% if they were to hold today, which would have meant that they would have a significant amount. So this address has a great entries, not so great exits, but I'm still interested in this potentially. So I would then save this address to my watch list. So we've got the labels there, and we go to base. Are they doing well on that front? They're not. So they're not doing anything on base at all. So there you go. So this has been a very, 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 very long episode of Office Hours. Typically, they're between 30 minutes to 60 minutes. I really enjoy just looking at what's going on chain. Whenever you have questions, stuff like that, I can more happy to answer them. We can pivot in the episode. Originally, I was looking into 4 tokens. We didn't cover one of them, mainly because Elliot asked me about my favorite features and how I use them sometimes. And so I showed you just how I use smart segments as a way to find interesting addresses based on specific themes. There you go. Specific themes, which is very, very useful.